ecology in general. It's a very general term, but we think that it's possible to apply it to the artwork because each artwork is a certain ecology. And the way how it is made or created or combined, different elements, different relationships between the parts and actors and communities involved, if you like.
I would say even more that each artwork, given its constituencies, is actually contributing to ecological reparation. First of all, by engagement with material world, by creating audiences, by creating new publics, artwork may emerge almost out of invisible gestures or out of engagement with what is called immaterial world. So we are interested in that, and we also interested how the artwork can also become a system of links and can create an expanded form of socium.
Ecology is also the topic, it's not just the way you are working, which is fantastic actually, this double dimension of ecology. So can you tell us about this other dimension also?
You could say it directly links to ecology in a very, very broad sense, or to be more precise, we would say it environmentalism. And actually we call it new environmentalism. And the one which actually was the first which came to my mind talking about ecology was a transaction. The project Transaction, which is based on the transactional analysis model or idea of transactional analysis, which is a scientific term or maybe parascientific, comes from psychiatry or psychology, and refers to the transactional analysis, to the branch in psychology, which claims the very interesting model between three roles that people take: the victim, the persecutor, and the rescue. Humans are changing these roles constantly. And then if there is a problem, a psychological problem, they can turn into one of the roles. So basically our project was this triangulating dialogue between the women, film archive, and psychiatrists. And that's how we created a very bizarre, in a way, ecology, which maybe would never happen in the real life, but suddenly it started to function within the framework of the artwork.
Speaking of the archives, it's also aspect of the repair, in a sense that all these archives that were created during the Soviet times, all the films that were created in the Soviet times, kind of like were almost lost during the privatization period. So for us, digitizing films and then bringing them back into circulation, but not only as they were, but with references specifically reflecting on the women's role, was kind of like creating another layer, yet another layer of the memory that sort of like speaks to the, not kind of like affirmation of the grand narrative, but speaks to kind of alternative, speaks to these minor voices or minor narratives.
Swamp, everyone thinks, oh, this is like muddy, murky, unclear, unknown, dirty, faceless.
Embodied in the political rhetoric draining the swamp, that has roots in the modernity, in the starting from the 19th century. Whether we're talking about American political rhetoric or Italian political rhetoric, Russian, Soviet political rhetoric, and so on. So bring that swamp, in a way, rescue it from the hell, right? Because swamp and the hell, this kind of abyss, is being really inscribed in the collective consciousness of many nations and cultures. And that's why perhaps swamps as the biosphere, so we started to work from the perspective of humanities, from the perspective of also engagement in material / immaterial. And in that sense, this repair in this project is not only engages the political rhetoric, but also engages the pedagogy that reflects on the pedagogy, especially when it comes to art and architecture, that addresses dialectics between the material and immaterial. In the Swamp School, we are looking into what we're calling amphibian pedagogies. Pedagogies that can navigate between the material and immaterial world and consider aspects that perhaps with draining of the swamps, with all the modernity, were pushed into the margins of sensible, of what is acceptable within the hierarchies of the knowledge, and especially things that deal with, we could say, with ways of knowing as modern human, or considering all these epistemologies that were simply, were not considered as non-human, so to speak. In the Zoetics, we were also looking into the notion of Anthropocene from the critical perspective, and how can we unpack and recombine and also change the perspective, in fact, from the human to the mushroom. Mushroom power plant, like where the mushrooms are producing energy. Or in the Mycomorph lab, where we collaborating with mushrooms, in fact, because our work very much depends on the successful attunement to each other, and understanding what conditions they would require in order to produce new materiality. Rethink all the modernity with its own materiality, like where the plastic has kind of like center, and hypothetically with the mycelium you can create alternatives to plastic or alternative styrofoam. So now understanding its functioning and understanding its kind of like ecosystem, right, may help humans simply to create or to repair these environments that humans themselves disrupted.
Our endeavor happens in Gotland, where we continue our interest in the swamp observatory topic, but try to put this model out in the real swamp, so to say, or actually not in a real swamp, but in a future swamp. So in the area where the future swamp will be, because the planning in Sweden is so advanced, so it's already working in the building of swamps. And our proposal is to involve future citizens. Now they are in the 6th grade of the local primary school in Visby, and we work with them to create or to imagine the creatures of that future swamp.
We don't know how it's going to be developed. We don't know how it's going to be affected with the climate change. We don't know how it's going to be affected with the coming industries. But our hope is that these imaginary creatures may be helpful for humans and for the autochthonous plants or endemic plants and insects and the soil and those future points. Ghost acres, the acres that speak to kind of resources that are already depleted, and we are already living on the credit. We are already living on the credit of the depleted resources of the future. So in that sense, cohabitation means not only cohabiting with those who are visible and around us, but cohabiting also with the imaginary ones who are not visible and not that tangible.